Hello everybody, welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well and that you are all having a great day to start things off. There's a lot happening behind the scenes in the cryptocurrency space, so we have to go over some of the stuff because this is just how things kind of are. It says Bakkt was first announced in early August 2018 as a Bitcoin trading and custody platform, but its launch has been repeatedly delayed. It has submitted a proposal to the CFTC asking for an exemption which would allow it to custody the Bitcoin it uses to settle its futures contracts. While the CFTC commissioners were reportedly given the proposal in December, it now appears to be back before the CFTC staffers. I'll go over that in a second. It is unclear if or when the proposal may be published for a mandatory 30-day public review period. Until the review period has ended and CFTC commissioners have voted to approve Bakkt's exemption, the exchange cannot launch its one-day physically settled futures contracts. And I'll also get back to that as well in 1 second. There's a lot to unpack here. More than 6 months since the Intercontinental Exchange, or ICE, revealed its vision for Bakkt, the hotly anticipated Bitcoin futures market is still awaiting regulatory approval. ICE, which is the parent company of the New York Stock Exchange, originally planned to launch Bakkt in mid-December. For those who were here, it was a very happy time, especially around August. Prices started going back up because everyone believed that September, once again, would be the time when the market would go back up because we had, when you talk about, institutional investors getting into the cryptocurrency space, and then you have the New York Stock Exchange talking about that they're going to have a Bitcoin trading platform, it kind of, everyone was very euphoric around that time. Happened, it was supposed to have launched in mid-December. Then it got pushed back to late January. Then on New Year's Eve, the launch was indefinitely delayed, with ICE saying its previous January 24th target will be amended pursuant to the CFTC's process and timeline, meaning they have to wait for the CFTC to kind of give them the thumbs up. Now, with the first quarter of 2019 nearly over, the Commodity Futures Trading Commission has yet to release Bakkt's proposed exemption for public comment. This means even if the proposal came out today, the launch couldn't happen until mid-April at the earliest, since the commissioners have given the public 30 days to weigh in and take another few days to read the comments before voting on whether to approve the plan. As of late February, the proposal, which would allow Bakkt to custody the Bitcoin trading on the platform, was still being reviewed by the CFTC's Division of Market Oversight. Why the holdup? The government shutdown, which began on the 22nd of December and lasted a record 5 weeks, creating backlogs at the CFTC and other agencies, surely didn't help matters. In getting caught up, the agency has prioritized other matters, mostly unrelated to crypto. So what happened at the end of last year was that the US had a government shutdown. It lasted for a bit too long. And apparently this is causing a backup from the CFTC and also the SEC and other government agencies who are saying that they have to deal with other things that are 5 weeks, if you will, backlog. So therefore, this even creates a bit more of a timeline where we have to wait for actually Bakkt to end up launching. It says, to be clear, the issue is not necessarily with Bakkt's envisioned one-day futures contracts, which would be physically settled, meaning the buyer would receive the actual Bitcoin when the contract is over. In late February, Amir Zaidi, the director of the CFTC's Division of Market Oversight, told CoinDesk that the analysis for evaluating cash-settled Bitcoin futures, such as what CME Group and the CBE offer, is slightly different from the analysis for evaluating physically settled Bitcoin future contracts. The different analysis examined whether the futures contract, once offered, are readily susceptible to manipulation. This is a concern with cash-settled contracts, where at the end, one party pays the other to, pretty much betting on the price of Bitcoin. With physically settled contracts like Bakkt, you don't need to worry about the cash market, so some of the concerns are resolved. Yet, while the manipulation concerns associated with cash-settled contracts may be addressed by physically settled futures, Bakkt's intent to act as its own custody warehouse appears to have raised other issues. What what appears to be happening is, and I really wish I did at this point, I don't understand why so what's happening is that because cryptocurrencies, while we may, me, you, I, us, we may understand at least 25% of the, 100% of the complexity for the cryptocurrency space, people who are the CFTC, the SEC, while they're trying their darndest, or so they say that they're trying their best to try and figure out exactly what this all means, they're not really doing that well. And part of their problem is that not only have they never really dealt with a situation where before, if you had a futures contract for gold and you had, at the end of the settlement of the contract, you were supposed to receive $100 million. No one was walking into a room and handing you $100 million worth of gold. The fact that Bitcoin is not controlled by any entity, is not controlled by the CFTC, is not controlled by the SEC causes a major problem for them, because they literally can't figure out exactly how, what this means and exactly what's supposed to happen. Because normally what ends up happening is, apparently sometimes with these things, is that if you are dealing in futures, you typically don't own or control the majority or a lot of or any of the actual thing that you are futuring, if I can kind of say that. So the fact that the New York Stock Exchange is trying to be their own custody provider also causes issues for the CFTC, because they can't really work out exactly how that's supposed to happen. And I know that sounds stupid, and I know it sounds strange, and I know it sounds weird, but they can't really figure it out. And this is kind of what's causing the entire majority of the delay. So what we end up having is a situation where the CFTC and the SEC are trying to figure out, once again, I guess more CFTC on this side, exactly how this is supposed to launch, who's going to be the actual custodian for this, how the settlement of it is going to actually happen, as if, when the contract is over, and if you are supposed to be, if you make profit from your contract, who then holds the Bitcoin, who is sending you the Bitcoin. And apparently it's all supposed to be Bakkt / the New York Stock Exchange, but the CFTC seems to have a problem with this. It's going to take a while. And there's something else also in this video that we're also going to discuss for at least a tiny bit. Part of the problem is that this is all, at least for me, myself, my opinion, this is bordering on the beginnings of market manipulation. The US knew about cryptocurrencies, and they have, at least according to their knowledge, that it hit their radar around 2012, 2013, 2014, when Bitcoin shot up to $1,200. It hit their radar, prices fell back down, and they thought or assumed that the cryptocurrency market, the Bitcoin market, was kind of null and void. It was going away. It was a one-time hype. We don't have to worry about this anymore. There's no... We are going to have regulatory frameworks, whether we like them or not. It's going to happen. But the fact that it's taken so long, and the fact that we have to... Bakkt isn't probably going to launch in April. It might not even March. It might not even launch in May. I would say the earliest is probably going to be, once again, around the August timeframe, which is a bit of a shame, because the fact that we have someone or an entity or group who has had plans to launch this in December, and everything is kind of it doesn't really take that long. It doesn't take 30 days to kind of get this entire thing through. I understand that there needs to be checks and balances, if you will, in the normal financial world. That was a plate moving. But so much of this, it's very frustrating at this point. And then that's kind of the only word that I can really throw out there. The only silver lining that I could see is that thus far, the people from the New York Stock Exchange and Bakkt have come forward quite often announcing that they are, what's the word? Yes, not standing still, that they're still doing things. They're still acquiring other companies and assets. They're making sure that when they do receive approval, that it's going to be, we don't have to wait anymore, that we have everything that we need. Let's go and do this. Apart from this as well, they also apparently are going to have a crypto trading desk or platform, which they have not spoken about. I think Bakkt was meant to be kind of the main thing that was going to launch from them. I mean, like I said, the silver lining is kind of that, if nothing else, they do have other things that they were planning on launching. It's just a matter of if they do decide to move forward with these things, because I assume that they were trying to get the physically settled Bitcoin futures. They were trying to be the first people potentially in the world to be a stock exchange to launch something like this. And now it appears that it's going to take even longer because the CFTC and the SEC can't get it together. It's stifling the entirety of the cryptocurrency space. I'm not sure if this is all because they're trying to stifle the creation. I'm not sure if this is all coordinated because they're trying to make sure that everything is within their control before they allow any of this to go through. I'm not, if this is the biggest fake out in the entire world, and the CFTC and the SEC have known for the entire time exactly what they planned on doing, kudos to them. You definitely win the Academy Award, because a lot of this seems like incompetence, and I don't mean that in a weird way or in a malicious way. I mean the news that we've been getting for the past year and a half between the CFTC and the SEC not really knowing what's going on, kind of taking their time. If you have the necessary contracts and paperwork and all these other things to be able to handle normal futures or custody of anything, I don't know. I think Bitcoin is stumping them so much more than we could have possibly begun to imagine. Like, it's not that difficult to understand the underlying principles of blockchain. What an ERC20 token is, what SHA-256 is. Like, these are very simple things that you could sit down for a week and a half and read over and over. And especially when you have people like the New York Stock Exchange who are announcing that they're going to be doing the custody themselves, there's not really much that you have to look into that. I don't know. I feel like this is not only stifling growth of the entire sector, because I'm certain at this point that the rest of the world, every other country, is kind of waiting to announce their own little cryptocurrency thing that's coming out, because they're waiting for the CFTC and the SEC, which is a shame. They're waiting for these two companies, organizations, offices to give their opinion on what should happen, how things are going to be regulated, exactly what needs to happen. And it's pushing back the prices, it's pushing back everything. This is why I talk about manipulation. The CFTC and the SEC have to know very well that when they talk about that they're afraid of market manipulation, they have to also understand that the things that they're doing and the way that they're holding everything back is also causing the prices of everything to go down, and they are themselves manipulating the market. It's kind of a very weird thing. The only thing that I hope for, or can hope for at this point, is that the people from the New York Stock Exchange / ICE decide to come out with more information as to the other prospects that are going to be happening on the Bakkt platform, because we know that the other part of Bakkt is going to be the actual, you can, they're trying to partner with Starbucks and Microsoft and blah, 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 to be able to use cryptocurrencies to be able to buy things. This is another part of Bakkt. And also the other thing is going to be their trading platform. So hopefully they have received approval to be able to do these things, and they kind of roll out before summertime. But for those who are looking for an update on the entire Bakkt thing, Bakkt was supposed to be like the it of everything in the cryptocurrency space. The CFTC, I'm assuming, is going to take even longer. At some point, whether it be the end of this year, whether it be next year, them and the SEC have to release information as to exactly what these things are, what's a security, what's not a security. Do you have approval for this? Can you start your platform? Can you do, it's going to happen eventually. It's just, I feel like we are at least 9 to 10 months behind where we actually should be. I feel like this is such a new world for all of them. Can you imagine a world where you control finance, where you control everything that happens? You understand exactly where money comes from, how money's printed in mass, where this money goes at any given time because of all the structures and walls and things that you've put up to allow people or not to allow people to be able to do with their money as they so choose. Something like cryptocurrency comes along, you think it's going away, Bitcoin becomes this powerhouse that almost goes up to $1 trillion in market cap, more than certain countries are worth, and you can't wrap your head, like, you've heard some of the conversations that these people have had on panels. They have no idea what cryptocurrencies are. There are certain that, now don't confuse that with, they have been hiring people who do understand how cryptocurrencies work, how the market is going to evolve, and where this is all heading. But the vast majority of people in this sector, in this space, cannot understand, and they probably do not want to understand, how something could have been created, how it's gained popularity, how it's not controlled by anyone, how there's no sovereign anything that they can kind of walk into an office to and say, hey, can we do X, Y, and Z? Are we allowed to do this with your so-and-so and so? I think it's very perplexing to them, but their perplexingness is causing it's slowing down the market from where it should be. We all know in our hearts, regardless of TA, regardless of anything, we know that crypto should be a lot further in price and in space than where it actually is right now. Without further ado, let me move on from this, because there's something else that also completely ties into this as well, and as we go through the video. A brief, quick one thing. Bitstamp released something where they were talking about all the actual Ripple gateways. I guess more speculation than anything. A lot of people have been, I feel like, what's happening right now is that a lot of the partners from other different cryptocurrencies, not even just the Ripple slash XRP thing, are starting to come forward and showing their support for these things and talking about like how these things can be used in their own certain way and how this is going to reshape finance. This is happening more and more and more. And we're seeing it from cryptocurrency exchanges who are also now starting to come forward, and also from telephones and so what have you, apps and dapps, who are announcing their support for certain things. On top of this as well, FinanceX has added XRP to their platform. What's interesting about this, the most interesting part, is that it is going to be paired with the Vietnamese dong and the Indonesian rupiah, which are not two currencies that you typically hear about. A lot of parts of Asia are very fragmented in their currencies. I guess this is the easy way of saying it. This is why the Ripple team came forward, and I guess to a larger extent with the Omise Go team, and also from other cryptocurrency advocates, when they talk about why crypto is very important, it comes down to the fact that, especially in Southeast Asia, there are clusters of countries who use completely different currencies, and when they're trying to transfer these currencies between themselves, it's almost a complete nightmare. It takes a very long time, sometimes even up to a week. Even if the country's right directly next to you, it's kind of completely insane. So this is where cryptocurrencies, and I guess to a lesser or larger extent, I can't really tell, this is where Ripple and XRP kind of come into the picture, because this is where they're kind of focusing on. This is why you may have noticed why Dash and Ripple and Cardano and other companies are targeting South America and South Africa and also parts of Asia. It's because they usually have completely different currencies once you cross the border, and the idea is to give them a common currency to be able to swap back and forth as they're sending payments or through themselves, if you kind of want to say that. Kind of interesting. So much of me, it's really weird because you realize a lot of the news that we're getting, it seems almost random. Like it seems like it's kind of thrown around. I feel like there's so much news being held back by so many companies, so many organizations, so many banks, so many institutions, and they want to release this news. And this is why I feel like we're getting so much like really odd news the last couple of weeks, months, because once again, and this is where this also ties in, everyone was expecting, once again, if you're paying attention to the time frame, that March was going to be the time where we should have had everything launching. Like Bakkt was the idea is that Bakkt was going to officially launch their platform along with Fidelity. This is why Fidelity launched in March, because everything was going to launch in March after we had the delay in December from the CFTC. We're like, okay, we said it's not going to happen at in the beginning of the year. It's not going to happen in February. So we were all like, collectively, everyone was like, March is going to be the time frame when all this stuff was going to launch. And now we have this is what I'm talking about. The fact that you can have an office of people, I don't know if it's how large the CFTC's building is, what have you, or the SEC's building. You know that it's not the entirety of the CFTC or the SEC who is responsible for these approvals. This is why I say like an office. You can have an office full of people who are responsible for an entire market, a worldwide market, to be stagnant because they won't release information that we know that they already know and have. It doesn't take 30 days to fill out a piece of paper and hand it over to the New York Stock Exchange, who's been around for a very long time, as if they don't know what they're doing and they've never held anything that's been a physically settled futures contract. It's completely insane. Because of all the holding backness, that's not a phrase, I feel like everyone is constantly dripping news and stuff like that. The same exact thing while we have information that the SBI bank is also once again delaying their thing. It's because the SEC and the CFTC have not gotten it together, and it's maddening that we have collectively all together allowed offices full of humans who don't understand what cryptocurrencies are to control a worldwide market that tens of millions of people are into. Do you see how this doesn't make sense? None of this is correlating together. This is why I get so frustrated sometimes, because I'm like, the idea of cryptocurrencies was to be this kind of sovereign thing that didn't fall under the guise or the control of government institutions, and crypto has not only bent the knee, it has bent both knees and is laying down on the bed right now for the CFTC and the SEC to give us an answer to something that we shouldn't be waiting for. not to, not to say that the New York Stock Exchange shouldn't be waiting for regulatory approval. I mean, in general, like the fact that prices haven't moved is because we've been given the narrative that we have to wait for the CFTC in order for our markets to go back up. In order for our prices to move, we need to wait for these people on the stage to write on a piece of paper, yes, you have approval, and therefore you can kind of move the prices as it's you understand what I'm saying? It's all completely, it's very ridiculous. And this once again ties directly into what we're about to talk about right now, which is the saddest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. It says in the cryptocurrency world, there's always a lot of dismay when governments or policymakers try to introduce some form of regulation. In the United States, the introduction of BitLicense has been discussed heavily in recent years. It now seems very similar guidelines might be making their way to as many as 5 additional states in the near future. For those who don't know, a couple of years ago, there was a huge debacle happening in New York City because people, once again, the other states in America decided to lean in and see exactly what New York State was going to do as far as regulating cryptocurrencies. There was a whole meeting. It was like a town hall type thing. It was very weird. The Winklevoss twins sat on one side. I think Ben Bernanke, whatever his name is, was on the actual panel of people who were listening to the words of the Winklevi and other people. And what it pretty much came down to is that crypto needed to be regulated and had to be regulated in its own way. And this is how the BitLicense was formed. It's pretty much something that says what you can and cannot do within New York State as far as being able to deal with cryptocurrencies. It says although it has gone relatively quiet on the BitLicense recently, that may not be the case for much longer. More specifically, it seems officials from various U.S. states, together with the ULC, are preparing to introduce cryptocurrency guidelines across multiple U.S. states. These guidelines will be in line with the BitLicense, one of the most controversial forms of regulation in recent years, because you want to talk about stagnation and not being able to do anything. This is why you may have noticed a couple of months ago when, my gosh, what was it? I think there were like 2 other cryptocurrency exchanges that got approved to like open up in New York State. That there was like, it was news everywhere because what was it? For over the last like 4 or 5 years, the people who run the BitLicense and say who can and cannot do what they wish with cryptocurrencies, I think over the like 4 or 5 years, they had only approved, I think, 3 companies. Keep that in mind. To put everything into perspective, the BitLicense is considered to be, it is stifling growth for cryptocurrency as an industry. It is also one of the main reasons New York-based residents can only access a handful of crypto exchanges and other services these days. The main question is whether or not more companies will halt their services in New York. They will, or the other regions, which will introduce very similar guidelines this year. This is why every single time that something's launching, when Robinhood launched, when so-and-so launches, when Coinbase was talking about adding new coins, think about this. When Coinbase was talking about adding new coins to their platform, and they were like, yeah, you can have it here, but not New York. And all other 49 states have it, but New York. And now they're trying to introduce this in other states across the United States. It has not, you only are allowed to use certain things inside of New York State if you want to deal or buy cryptocurrencies. Sorry. It's completely ridiculous. As is always the case when these types of discussions occur, it is important to be aware of all the facts. First of all, this proposal to introduce new guidelines was open to the public in affected U.S. states. For some unknown reason, no one seemed to oppose this concept in the state of Nevada, which either indicates no one knew it was happening or no one bothered to oppose it. I'm going to assume that no one had any idea that any of this was happening. So many of these things end up happening. Hold on. Hold on. Of course, I have no tea next to me. That was very sweet. Anyway, what I think is happening, and this is why a lot of times I get really buzzed, annoyed, is that when we do hear about things that are going to happen or things that are going to be pushed through or so, I'm not in the States, but I'm pretty sure I get the news. People in the States end up hearing about it like the last couple days before it actually ends up happening. So I'm going to assume this may have been made public somewhere, but it was probably incredibly difficult to find it because there are, I would assume, at least several thousand people in Nevada who are into cryptocurrencies who would have been very opposed to something like this. It says if it's the latter, there is no right for anyone in the state to complain if these new rules are effectively enforced in the near future. Among the affected states are Nevada, California, Oklahoma, Rhode Island, and Hawaii. The choice for introducing these new guidelines is pretty interesting, particularly because California is considered to be a major state in terms of crypto usage. However, the use of Bitcoin and altcoins has been allowed without any rules or guidelines for some time. Thus, it was only a matter of time until the situation came to change. I don't really know what's happening. Like I said earlier, if this is a huge fake out, if all of this is to kind of like, if this is one long April Fool's joke, they got me. How you could even, first of all, how you could even have something like the Bit license is completely insane to me. How you could think that proposing another Bit license in other states or anywhere else, have you not seen how much the growth of cryptocurrencies has been stifled in New York State? And to think that that would be a good idea for you to implement in your state, especially in California, where cryptocurrencies are thriving. I was watching a documentary. They were talking about all these people in California, like the huge like tech heads, the tech nerds and stuff like that. Some people there only live on Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies because they're trying to move the whole thing forward. What do you think would happen if they introduce something like that in California? It's completely insane. I don't understand what's going on. It has to be a huge tug of war. The way that I've seen it for so long, I am going to assume that a large part of what's been happening around the United States has been a struggle between people who see where crypto's going and they want it to continue. They want the idea of this decentralized, super awesome, autonomous world to kind of thrive. And then the other side, the people, maybe they're just the smaller sliver, the lawmakers. How could you not understand that while Switzerland, Germany, Jamaica, all these other places around the world, Japan, have opened their doors wide to cryptocurrencies, that you could think that imposing something like this on your, or even on your people, just in people in general, you are going to push people. You know how many people have not opened up shop in New York City? You know how many times something has launched? It's at least 34 times over the last 2 years that things have launched and they have not opened in New York, or they have not allowed New York customers. There's still a couple that still don't allow people from New York. Like when Coinbase launches a new coin, they said it would not, there would be certain countries who they wouldn't allow to use their things, and New York State was always one of them. Remember the thing we were reading about 2 days ago where they were like, yeah, the places that are, I can't remember what it was for. They were like, the places that are exempt from using our platform. It was like Iran, it was North Korea, it was Venezuela, it was Russia, and New York was one of them. It's completely, I don't understand what's happening. It has to be some really weird thing. And part of the problem is that when you introduce things like this, you can't easily take them back. Like, you can't introduce these licenses and go, well, that was crap, we should really just take that off the bench. Like, these things are going to be in place for a very long time. Like, New York City 10 years from now is going to be a very different place because of the companies who are just not opening up in New York City. Not even to mention the fact that New York State apparently has very high taxes. Aren't there like federal and state taxes as well? It's just completely insane. Like, why would you go to New York when you can go to Puerto Rico and have 0% tax? Why would you think you're making your state more appealing to money, billions, if not hundreds of billions of dollars flowing into your state by introducing something that has stifled the growth in New York City? The same as I think with the CFTC, the same as I think with the SEC. This is what I'm saying. If this is all a joke, they can come out and kind of say it right now, say that they were playing with all of us, ha ha ha, really funny. It's very weird. I don't understand, or rather, I don't get the people. I would assume that the people who are introducing these things or are talking about having these things should logically be people in finance. What makes you think that anybody, like, this is why we all know that the internet exists. We all know, if you never heard of a digital nomad, it's pretty much someone who has a job online, web designer, whatever the case might be. You can take your computer, you can get onto a plane or a train or a bus and go to a different country and work from there. Same exact thing, I think that they think that these places have to physically set up shop in their town, in their state, and this is kind of their only option. Even within the United States, if you live in Oklahoma, I'm pretty sure you can just, it may take a while, you can take a bus to Florida and then get on another boat and go to Puerto Rico and kind of open up a crypto place there. I don't get it. I'm not understanding why this is happening. why they think that this would put them in a positive position to be able to like you can't challenge anyone when you have a bit license in your. You know how horrible the bit license is? Like, how many places have tried to open up in New York City and they've been shut down by New York regulators telling them that they were running something illegal and they had to pay millions of dollars in fines? 3 strikes. If you shut down one company, that's nothing. If you shut down 3 in general and they get fined millions of dollars, not one company is going to want to open in your state. This is why I think it's so weird that the Winklevoss twins are so dedicated to New York City and the whole bit license thing. It's like, do you understand that as much as the Winklevoss twins have come forward talking about, we love the bit license, we love so and so and so, you are not the number 1 exchange in the world. You know who is the number 1 exchange in the world? It's Binance. You know why? Because they left America. They announced it last year. They said them and Kraken, they were getting subpoenas and all this other stuff, and they said, okay, that's totally fine. We'll just pack up our stuff and move to another country. I think they've opened up in Malta. They've opened up in Liechtenstein, I think it is. And they've also opened up in, not Bermuda. What's the other one? Anyway, some other rich country. I guess my rant is over, at least for this part. It's very, very weird. I don't understand how you could think that you are going to be competitive in any type of way by introducing something like a bit license or any type. Let's just declare that everything is a security and let everything kind of grow from there. Like have a yearly test that shows exactly if something has become decentralized. Give like a metric. Is, you know, if you have more than 60% of your network is decentralized and you don't run the full nodes, you are no longer a security. Let's move on from the. It's very weird. It's very odd. I don't know what's happening with all of this. One would have assumed that the U.S. would have been a leader. Can you imagine how strong the U.S. would have been if 2 years ago they announced regulations, or even the beginning of 2018, before every other country was trying to get their stuff together, had announced regulations? How much money would have flown into the United States, making the U.S. is already rich. Can you imagine becoming richer? Because you've made it so easy for all these companies. Like you can have a complete sandboxing. You can have it so that everyone has to, work in this sandbox, that the US government, the SEC, the CFTC, and the IRS can see everything that's being done. And they can still roam freely to build up this infrastructure that the US can become this mega crypto entity. This is why news is so weird that we had a couple of days ago and also last year that North Korea has, what is it? Oh my gosh, how much is it? Like several $billion or something like that worth of cryptocurrency. Like it's all very weird. Like everything that's happening is all just kind of all over the place. None of it really makes a lot of sense. I'm done rambling. I'm done ranting, but you get exactly what I'm saying. Very few countries have understood where this is going and how much money is going to be made. And the idea that you could introduce something that would stifle growth and money entering your country or your state, none of this makes any sense to me. It's complete madness. Like who are these regulators? Who are these licensing people who don't know how money works? If you put out vinegar, no one's gonna want to sit with you. So frustrating. To kind of not even to finish things off. My word. So the Ledger Nano S was, I love that segue. Like I'm like ranting and then I'm like, Ledger Nano's in the news. The Ledger Nano S was originally developed by French crypto hardware wallet Ledger. Apparently they got according to Cointelegraph, the hardware wallet has recently received the first level security certificate, or the CPSN, which was given by the ANSSI, National Cybersecurity Agency of France. All matters of defense and national security involving ANSSI are reported to the National Defense and Security, the SGDSN, to support the French Prime Minister. Presently, since ANSSI began evaluating the 261 products for certification, there have been 122 products certified. So the National Defense Agency, so-and-so security and defense thing in France, has given the Ledger people a certificate saying that they are cybersecurity, secure, ready, awesome, mega interesting. I think it's also kind of weird that this also kind of came out around the exact same time. I don't know if you've noticed. I've noticed the people from Ledger and Trezor can't stand that name, have been feuding with each other. It's very weird. Jack Dorsey announced a couple of weeks ago that he actually stores his Bitcoin on Trezor. The people from Ledger came forward and said that they had people doing what's it called, like security audits and stuff like that, and apparently they found like 5 or 6 things wrong with the Trezor that they were easily able to hack into. And now the Ledger people have received a security certificate. Kind of weird. I mean, to be fair, everyone's gonna kind of know what you don't want anybody to take your business, but anyway, good to them, the Ledger people. I have Ledgers. I like Ledgers. I won't lie to you, and I'll tell you right now, don't even judge me. I don't have a Trezor because I hate the way that they look, and I don't like the name. The Z in the name drives me crazy. Ledger just makes so much more sense, and to be honest, that's why I use Ledgers. I mean, to be fair, I've also researched them. Like, I'm not like, oh, their name sounds better. Like, I know that they're, or rather, in my opinion, I believe, based on my own research, that they are more secure. Anyway, let's move on from that. To kind of finish things off, this is not a paid partnership. I do not do those on this channel. It's interesting because I'm fairly certain that this is the way that cryptos are going to go, and I'm glad that they are slowly moving this way. There was a huge thing for those who weren't here in 2014, 15, 16, and I guess even the beginning of 17. People thought or assumed that everyone would be willing to have 15 different cryptocurrency wallets on their phone, on their tablet, on their wrist, I don't know, and would be willing to walk into a store, open up their app, scan someone else's code, enter a number, and then wait, a good 14 seconds to have their payment processed. That's not how things are going to happen. Recently, there's been a huge ramp up of companies who have come forward who are announcing that they are, you can link your crypto to the Visa card. By all means, this is not the first one. But I do like when stuff like this happens. Once again, not paid advertising. If you do plan on using this card, do about a week's worth of research to make sure that it is for you and that it is legit and that you are not being scammed with fees or whatever the case might be. But like I said, crypto is going this way. There's kind of no way around it. And I am certain that it's still going to happen with the banks. I'm pretty sure that the banks are going to announce, I don't know if it's going to happen this year, probably next year, that when you store your crypto with them, that you can link your crypto and you'll probably get like a new shiny new Bitcoin card, because that's just how things are going. Anyway, banking startup known as Together, joking, it's called Together with the number 2, is launching a prepaid Visa debit card that allows users to spend cryptocurrencies. In an announcement, Together said customers will be able to use the card to pay with either euros or any of the following 7 cryptos. They are Bitcoin, Ether, XRP, Bitcoin Cash, EOS, Stellar, and Litecoin. The card instantly converts the cryptos to fiat, and it said can be used fee-free by customers in any of the 19 Eurozone nations. The company said the card would address the hurdles that come with making payments directly with cryptocurrencies. Currently, spending crypto is a long and difficult process involving exchanges, personal keys, and a lot of waiting. Yes, if you've never watch a video from 2015, 2016, watching people going into stores, paying for their crypto, it's ridiculous. Remember that video that Coinbase put out like about a year ago where somebody walked into a shop? Was it Coinbase? I'm pretty sure it was Coinbase. And they paid for their donut with Bitcoin Cash, and they edited the video to not show how long the process actually took. Think about that. Together, customers passing KYC or Know Your Customer procedures can also manage their balances in an Android and iOS mobile app that also lets them buy, sell, and hold cryptos. The firm said purchases are often at no markup to exchange prices. I think stuff like this is very, very cool. I don't think there are many of them in the Eurozone, if you will. I assume, and I mean, this is going to be the best part in the entire world. I like to travel, and I can't wait to live in a world, and I mean it, where I can just pay in Bitcoin in any country and not have to worry about like exchange rates or exchange fees or trying to like transfer money between bank accounts and it taking like a really long time because banks are awful. Like, I tried to transfer, not that you need to know this, but whatever. I tried to transfer money from a European account to an American account. It took like hours to figure out exactly like routing numbers and this and so and so and so. How great it's going to be one day when you can just copy and paste that long string of numbers, double check it to make sure that it's correct, and then send it off. And you know that it'll get there, especially with the Lightning Network, or even with XRP, or even with EOS, and it'll get there in less than about 30 seconds. It's going to be a good time. I'm excited for the future. I think we're close to the future. However, you know, certain things like the bit license are just not making it easy. I don't know why I had that accent. Prices seem to be doing okay. They're not doing terrible. Bitcoin is back above 4,000. It was around a good 39.98 for a bit of a time period. Lumens is up. Not many other coins are skyrocketing. Bolt coin with the low volume is constantly up every single day. Do your own research as far as don't fall into the trap of thinking because something is going up that it is going to make you a millionaire or going to make you tons of profits, because they could dump it at any moment. Anyway, crypto is a very weird place. I hope you all enjoyed. I hope you all are having a great day, great morning, great afternoon, great evening, wherever you are, wherever in this insane world you might be. I hope your day is like the greatest day you've ever had in your entire life. As always, a very special thank you to my Patreon supporters. I'm going to try to do this in one breath. They are Vlad the Impaler, Gilboa Snake, Rai, Brady Niels, L. Doug, Arthur Yaku, Professor Wally from Gunbot University, Nick Mangialavori, Travis Haynes, Yasha Harari, Anthony Charles, Nick Kanaya, singer-songwriter Mike Savitz, Wise Night Owl, Joey Carafa, Crypto Joe, Jim Gardner, Jared Schneider, Jeremy Fox, Amy Starsheen, Richie Rich III, Jeffrey Ramsey, Cody, Carl Borchanoff, Paxis, Jeffrey Dam, Nicholas, One Earth, One Peace, One Love, Setsuna, Minting Coins, Cryptonatic, RF, Dusty, and ShaolinFriedRice.com. Holy cow, I did it. Thank you all. I'm shocked myself. Hope you all have a great day. And yeah, I will talk to every single one of you very, very soon. See you.